Food is one of the main staples in our survival. Over the course of human history, we have found ways to bend Mother Nature to our will to provide us with an abundance of farm-grown food. However, mankind's abuse of natural resources may land us in deep trouble very soon. Sustainable farming techniques are a path forward to ensuring we still have food for generations to come without further damaging our planet and its creatures. So what is it that we're doing wrong here exactly? The problem is unsustainable farming practices. The way we farm today has been popular since the end of World War II, when there was high demand for an abundance of food as cheap as possible. Though effective in reaching its goal, the practices developed at this time are quickly depleting natural resources and causing swaths of farmland to be unusable. Pesticides pollute local water runoff. According to the World Wildlife Foundation, agriculture is the leading source of pollution in many countries. Pesticides, fertilizers, and other toxic farm chemicals can poison fresh water, marine ecosystems, air, and soil. They also can remain in the environment for generations. Monoculture is another harmful practice, which is the planting of one crop over large areas of land. This negatively impacts the local wildlife and wields weaker crops. An article by the College of Natural Science at the University of Massachusetts Amherst states, in addition to overproduction, industrial monoculture predisposes farm to pest problems. To keep up with the intensified production, farmers increased pesticides and fertilizer usage, crop density, and the number of crop cycles per season. But decreased crop diversity, overcrowding genetically uniform plants allows pests to spread through fields with relatively little resistance. So we need a different approach to agriculture in order to prevent these harmful situations. And the way we can do that is through sustainable agricultural practices. According to foodprint.org, sustainable agriculture produces its own inputs, fertilizer from animals, feed grown on the land, and it manages its outputs, crop waste and manure, in a closed-loop cycle. It contributes to soil fertility, clean water, biodiversity, and other ecosystem services rather than depleting them. By listening to scientists' suggestions to plant a variety of crops that support each other and allow the natural wildlife to participate in the environment, crops would be pollinated and pests would be managed by other natural predators. Another method suggested by the Union of Concerned Scientists is integrating livestock and agriculture. They say industrial agriculture tends to keep plant and animal production separate, with animals living far from the areas where their feed is produced, and crops growing far away from abundant manure fertilizers. A growing body of evidence shows that a smart integration of crop and animal production can be a recipe for a more efficient, profitable farm. Many other methods, such as planting cover crops off seasons to protect and enrich soil, as well as planting trees and shrubs to provide shade for crops and shelter for wildlife, can also be used. So let me give you an idea of what these solutions look like in action. Through the work that the Union of Concerned Scientists, as well as other organizations, we will begin to see ethically produced crops without additional costs, decrease in water pollution, and hardy soils for future generations to grow in. Making just a few scientifically informed changes to the structure of farming will ensure that we keep a balanced relationship with Mother Nature, where we can give back to the land and receive enough food for everyone in return, instead of depleting the natural resources, possibly creating shortages and famine in the not-so-distant future. It may seem impossible that any one of us who do not personally have our hands in the soil could help, but there are plenty of ways we can all work toward this goal. The first way being donating whatever you can to the Union of Concerned Scientists, which allows them to make legislative changes in the agricultural industry by advocating for policies at the federal level to make sustainability the standard, as well as partnering directly with farmers to help them implement sustainable practices. Another way you can help is by speaking with your dollar. Buying local produce from farmers markets or from local farms themselves is another great way to tell in the farming industry that we no longer support these unsustainable practices, as well as planting your own gardens at home of food that you like to eat on a daily basis. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have more insight as to why we should implement more sustainable farming practices into our farming industries. Thank you.